Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Um, I don't have a whole lot to share today, but I did want to give books 3 and 4, that's the prelude and the final trial, a quick run through as they launch. I know the prelude is printed, and I believe the final trial is due to be printed soon. I hope you've all read books 1 and 2. If not, they're available, of course. The series does carry on one book to the other. You can pick up in the middle of it, but it won't be as meaningful as if you've read the first two, of course. I guess I'm going to start off. A lot of people are curious about the creative process, and I've taken some writing courses, and some people suggest these nice little charts that show your plot rising and falling and list who your characters are and what happens when and that sort of thing. And I'm not quite that put together when I write. I get the idea for a story and I do write out a vague outline of what the story is going to be about and the main plot of the story. Then I start writing, and I don't always decide if it's a who done it until the middle of the book. I also name my characters as I get to them, describe them, and get to know them myself, especially for speculative fiction, because things are a little bit different than your everyday world. This is an example of what I started out with. As I wrote, I scribbled all over these pieces of paper the different things that were going to be going on. Oh, can you see that better?
No, Catherine, we are not able to see those. Do you have a soft copy of them? Maybe if I can show them.
Okay, no, these are all I have of these.
I believe it's just because your background is blurred, ma'am. That's why
Okay.
it's
Um,
you can't see them.
if I can fix that, if I know how to do that.
I believe it's under the video setting, and it'll say give you options.
Okay. Well, I can't find it. It doesn't really matter. The point is, I scribble all over pieces of paper and in margins and all around until I can't find anything. So finally, that was when I was writing book 1, as it was the story was developing, of course. And then I finally did make a printed, typed out copy of the characters' names, their descriptions, the dates, places, coined terminology, and things like that, so that I could remember in when I finally got to the final book what dates certain things happened, and if it was 7 years later, to make sure I had the right date, etc. So I develop it as I go. That just works best for me. There's not much else to my creative processes. I do read voraciously to pick up on ideas and styles of writing, etc. But I thought I would read a couple excerpts from the Prelude, or book 3, because if I were to read from book 4, it would give away the whole series. So I don't want to do that. So I'll read about the Prelude. Let me set this up. The Prelude is our main character, Insa, her story as she's growing up. Insa lives in Sector N, where the majority of the people are non binary. So there's use of the they, them pronouns a lot through the prelude. You'll get used to it. At first, it seems a little odd, but I would like it to become more mainstream. There's a lot of people that are non binary, and we should honor what they want. And so I'm introducing this also. It just came to me to do it, but I wanted to get people more used to using the they, them pronouns. Okay, this is the beginning of the prelude. With a whoosh, whoosh, the baby slipped into the warm water, the guardian's waiting hands clasping them and bringing them out of the pool in one smooth, slow motion. Montreux, the baby's only parent now, intoned aloud, and they shall be named Insa, which means arbiter of peace and goodwill. So mote it be. The guardian laid Insa in their parents' arms and left the room to allow them time alone. This bonding time was important for the well-being of the baby and the parents. The guardian did not ask where Insa's second parent was. It was none of their business. Besides, many babies were born with only one parent present. It was not totally uncommon event. Montreux held Insa close to their chest. Oh, if only Yeston had been present to see this blessed occurrence. But Yeston had made other choices in their life. They would rather partake of the kurza and liquid gold as often as they liked, leaving Montreux to tend to the household tasks and financial aspects of life. Montreux resented this fact with all their heart, and they did nothing to hide their contempt of Yeston. Here it was, John V. 30th, in the year of Wraith 5025, snow and ice coated Sector N. The 7 moons were at full cycle, and Montreux had to come to the guardian's home by themselves as she felt the pains of labor all the way. This did nothing to ingratiate Montreux to this bundle of yellow-haired wrinkles lying on their chest. Insa, newborn as they were, sensed the tension in their parents' arms and tensed themselves. Insa's intuition told them that now was not the time to cry or make demands on this parent. And that's how the Prelude book begins. I'm going to read one more excerpt from that book, and to set the stage, Yeston is one of Insa's parents, but they are not present in Insa's life. They have gone off on their own before Insa was born. But Insa has an alternate galosphere they go to escape when things get rough at home. And there they have made a character that they believe is their other parent, and they interact with Yeston in this alternate galosphere. So we're in the alternate galosphere, and here's the next excerpt. Yeston knelt down low as Insa clambered up onto Yeston's back, and they took off together to the market. Insa only vaguely hid their delight as Yeston galloped over the stone steps lining the streets. Insa loved this section of Sector N. It was known as the Old Section, and the streets were covered with rough-hewn stones of all shapes and sizes. They knew how to traverse these old streets without turning their ankle or falling and scraping their knees. Yeston was also quite smitten with this part of Sector N, and they beamed their smile of recognition and happiness as they came upon the market. They knew the vendors with the best wares and the best pots stewing over the low fires for hours and hours. Just thinking about it made Yeston's mouth water. Yeston bought one meat pie for them to share with Insa, a variety of fruits and fresh greens that had been brought in from the gardens of Sector Q that morning. They came to the end of the food vendors and saw all the artisans selling their productions. This was Insa's favorite part of the market. Here were paintings in geometric shapes, detailed paintings of make-believe worlds with little creatures and bright flora, and beautiful renditions of peoples from Wraith from all sectors, some introspective, some celebrating some inner happiness. The colors were what drew Insa to the merchandise. They felt the colors resonate deep within their body. The last booth on the right had multicolored flags and kites. Insa squealed with joy. Oh, Yeston, may I please have a kite? We could fly it this afternoon. Please, please. You need to pick the one you like best, and I'll buy it for you. Can you decide on only one? Yeston, it's difficult to choose, but I believe I'll have the blue and yellow one in the shape of a dragon. Do you think we can fly that? I'm sure we can, Insa. I can't wait to see how it looks aloft. I believe I'll buy the red and purple one shaped like a diamond. Yeston paid the vendor, and they took off down the street to find a grassy knoll along the parkway where they could comfortably sit and enjoy their impromptu lunch. Yeston already wished he had brought a bottle along, but Yeston knew Insa would not like him drinking, and they would probably drink too much and not be able to fly the kite with Insa. This afternoon, Yesta would do their best to stay present with Insa and enjoy their time together. Yeston felt like it would be a good day. And that's all I have to read from that book. I can't think of anything else I particularly want to share. I'm going to open it up for questions. I see a good friend here that has indeed read books 1 and 2, I know. So she's told me she's eagerly awaiting the final trial.
Kathy, can I ask a question?
Sure, John.
Okay, so I'm just curious, how long does it take to write a book like this? What's your time frame?
Well, it took me about a year on book 1. The rest of the books didn't take as long because I was so excited about being in the middle of it. I wanted to finish it. I would say it took a year and a half. When did my first book go out? I don't remember. It probably took 2 more years to write the next 3 books.
I had a question for you.
Sure.
Whenever you started writing this book, did you know that it was going to be a multi-part series, or did you intend for it originally just to be one book?
When I started out at the very beginning, I only envisioned one book. But as it developed, I knew there were several points that weren't going to be cleared up in one book. I wanted to have they're kind of a whodunit, and I wanted each book to end with a question mark that could be answered in the next book. So probably about the middle of the first book, I decided I was going to make it into a series.
And then, if you happen to know off the top of your head, do you know approximate word count per book? What you were at?
Wow.
It's okay if you don't. I'm just curious.
I would say, I'm trying to think. I'm working on my memoir right now, and I know more. It's a lot longer. I would say approximately 10 to 15,000.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, I got another question.
Okay.
Now that you've completed the series and you have that experience, what would you do differently next time?
Well, what to do differently next time? That's a good question. I don't know that I would change how I develop or write speculative fiction. I have several short stories out also. I will say, partially it was difficult to write a book because I was so used to writing short stories. So I wanted to hurry up and get to the end. So I guess I would try to become more accustomed to writing a book rather than a short story. But speculative fiction, I would probably stick pretty much with my format and what I did. I'm working on a book that's not a memoir, but it's much more in depth and kind of a political statement type of book. And I believe for it, I'm going to want to develop the book more before I begin the writing process so that I know where I'm headed. It was kind of fun with the speculative fiction to decide where I was headed as I went along. But on a more serious note, I want to know where I'm going before I start going there. So that's probably the biggest thing I'd change.
So that was my next question. So that's what's next, is that the book you were just describing?
Yes, and it's going to take me a while to write it. I don't know how to describe it. It's not a memoir, but I have finished my memoir, which is out to different people trying to get it published. And that was a whole experience. I took a class at Washburn University on writing creative nonfiction, which was quite helpful in getting that book to its finishing stages. Now, I probably worked on that book literally 10 to 15 years, not constantly by any means, but
Sure.
10 or 15 years on my memoir. The book I'm starting, I can envision, I'm writing it in first person, but it is not a memoir. But I'm trying out the first person. And as I said, it's kind of a political statement. Of course, what got me writing it was our recent election and that sort of thing. I won't state my opinions on that, but
I want to ask you, as a publisher, was it a challenge for you to develop the characters, or was it the plot that was more difficult to develop? As in, throughout, I mean to say, not just the book three, but in the entire series that we have here with us.
they just drove themselves. They literally, I started this and it just drove itself. I couldn't quit writing on it. And in my creative processes, my best time to write is about 2 or 3 in the morning. So I do work overnights. I have to be awake, but I don't have to be busy doing something all night long. So I do a lot of my writing then. But that's when my brain starts thinking best, is at 2 or 3 in the morning. So I did a lot of that. But these books just drove themselves and I couldn't quit.
I have another question here from Vance, who asks, what got you started into writing?
What got me started to writing? Well, when I was a teenager, to deal with all that teenage angst that we all deal with, I began to write poems and write songs on my guitar. And I loved that at that time, those poems full of feelings and all of that. And that's about all I wrote at that time. I don't remember when it was I started writing actual stories or books. I didn't try to get published until I was 65 years old. I'm a late bloomer. And within a year of maybe 2 years of writing my first short story, I was published. And by this publisher, thank you. And ever since then, I feel like I'm not fulfilled. I feel like I'm not whole unless I'm writing something. I can't get into poems as much as I did. I don't want to pour out that much feeling or something. I don't have any training in writing poems either, so I don't know much about that. When I started writing my speculative fiction short stories, I had taken another class at Washburn University, and it was on speculative fiction. So that was, in fact, when I started writing speculative fiction for the first time. And I love it. I've always read a lot of speculative fiction, Isaac Asimov. Oh, I can't think of names right now, but I've always read a lot of speculative fiction. Also, I read crime dramas. Um, these books have a lot to do with the trials of these various people. And that's how I got the idea for that, was because I was a court reporter for 24 years. And I was quite enamored with the justice system. I don't know. I won't say how I feel about the justice system. I will just say, as these books portray, the justice system is not infallible. And sometimes justice is served and sometimes it's not. But the process is very interesting. And being a part of that process for 24 years, I wanted to write some about that.
So I'm fairly new to writing. I didn't actually try to sit down and take my fingers to work until about 4 years ago is when I started. And I did just get my first book published, but it's a vanity publisher, so um, it's not quite self-published, but I paid them to publish the book and such. So I was just wondering how difficult has it been for you to find a publisher? Do you have a literary agent? What does that process look like for you? Or what did it look like at the beginning compared to now?
Do not have an agent. I don't even know how to find an agent. I'd
Amen.
be quite difficult, but I hear that a lot of people, you do have to have an agent to get in touch with publishers. The way I have done all of my publishing is through a site called Submittable, and they have various publishers that list what they're looking for, when the due date is, etc. And some of them charge you. I don't do many of those. I go to the ones that don't charge you to submit a story or a book. Manuscripts, they don't call for as many manuscripts as they do short stories, but there's always some looking for manuscripts, and they will tell you whether they want speculative fiction or memoir, or if they're open or whatever. And I've had real good results with this Submittable site. There's another site I was told about in class, and right now I can't remember the name of it, but those type of sites, a lot of people get started that way.
That's
I
what.
would like to
So
answer that question for you. Uh, Earlier on, there was a trend of having literary agents. In recent times, that literary agent has been sidetracked, and there is a direct connect between the author and publisher in present day. And
Oh,
we do accept publish as Catherine rightly said. We simply accept the manuscript submissions that we receive, and we review them, and then we proceed with publishing them if it is worthwhile.
right. That's how I found Akshay and Poet's Choice, was through Submittable.
And that's what I just sorry, very quickly. I stumbled upon that Submittable site, and it's amazing. And I actually did get a 1 page. It was between 1 to 2 page poem or short story kind of for Free Spirit Publishing, and
Yes,
mine was accepted for a book by the name of Meaningful Living, and so that is somewhere where I've found success. That just happened within this last year. So I'm very excited about that. I will keep my eye open. I really appreciate you talking about that. Thank you so much.
sure. Free Spirit and Poet's Choice are the same publisher, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
published these books. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
Thank you.
So, if we have any more questions for a writer here, we welcome them. Otherwise, we can probably call it a day. I think, unless anybody would like to share any feedback or any reviews about what I am told by the writer that few of you have read her previous books in this series. So, if you'd like to share anything, that's most welcome.
Sharon, tell us what happened at the end of book 2.
Well, I did just want to say thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and everything. I greatly appreciate it, and I will fully support you. I have not read your first 2 books, admittedly, but I will be reading them now. So I am just very appreciative of the time and information you provided.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. I really do.
Absolutely.
So, for the sake of everybody, the book is available online on most websites that we usually visit to purchase the book. And the best way to get the book is from our official website. I have put in our website address and a coupon code which will give you discounts on the title. Do purchase a copy of the book, and we hope to see you around for the fourth book as well, that we'll be coming out with maybe in a month or two. We don't know. We'll be discussing that with the writer after this event. And that's about it.
Thank you,
Everyone,
Amazing.
Kathy.
ready for coming.
Congrats.
Yeah, John, you were saying something. We missed that. If you can repeat.
Sorry, I was just saying thank you, Kathy, and congratulations.
Thanks,
It's cool,
John. We'll see you soon.
it's cool having a famous sister. So
You're famous. John's an artist.
Wow, that's good to know. Maybe, Catherine, we might consider pursuing this book for feature productions or film productions if they suit the purpose and need, if they're worthwhile. What are your
Oh,
thoughts about that?
well, that's awesome.
We'll pursue some producers and see whether we can get that happening.
Okay.
All right, so I can see that we are coming to a close. So I'd like to thank everybody for attending a book launch tonight, in the morning today in USA. And I also congratulate the author and thank her for her time. The excerpts did give a very good insight into the book, but the book in itself is more interesting. So we do urge you to get a copy. And thank you. Thank you so much.
You
I
have a new customer here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Same to you.
I asked Kathy to give her end note and then we can end the show.
All right. I just want to thank everyone who took time out of their day to come. I hope you have a good holiday season, and I'll see pretty much all of you soon. Okay. Bye bye.